It's officially now time to get you started on the path towards the abundance, quality, quantity, lifestyle, and types of relationships that you've always wanted with the types of girls you've always wanted. And of all the forms of game that I know, in 15 years of doing game, 12 years of teaching game, day game is the one I'm most excited about and the one that I think is actually the absolute best for creating an abundant lifestyle and getting you that type of girl. And the reason for that is a lot of times the girls you want maybe don't go to clubs all that often. I mean, when you list the categories and qualities of girls you're looking for, do you really look for like gets drunk every night, like smokes so much she coughs all the time, etc., etc.? I mean, if that's your type, by all means. But a lot of the best girls, the quality girls, the girls that are doing something in their life, the girls that are in the gym and care about their health, the girls that are ambitious and have a career, have a job, have a hobby they're really into, they don't spend a lot of time out at clubs. And so you're not going to meet them through that means. You're going to meet them when the sun is out, either out and about or during times when you're doing activities. Okay, so day game is, I think, the best way to meet those truly high quality girls. Also, day game is the purest form of game. It's game without all the bullshit. It's game where it's just you as a man walking up to her as a girl. There aren't drag-away friends. There aren't like tables and cars and DJs and all these distractions. It's just all about, do you walk up right? Do you convey yourself in the right way? Do you create an adventure between her and you? And if you can do that, you can do any form of game. But at the same time, it's a type of game where the threshold to getting a decent result and getting progress is also not that high. So it's the type of game that even someone starting out in game can start getting results very, very quickly. So for that reason, I love day game for anyone and everyone. And let me tell you, my first 3 years in game personally was exclusively day game because I started at 18. I'd never had a fake ID. So I did 3 years of day game before I was ever admitted to a nightclub. So that was kind of my transition from boy to man, was in day game. And that's why it's near and dear to my heart. Over the years, a lot of day game related products have come out in the pickup industry. And there are two things that I've never liked about the day game type products that come out. Number one is I don't think anyone who exclusively does day game and doesn't touch on night game and doesn't know all forms of game can teach you a well-rounded game strategy. So I'm a guy who loves day game, prefers day game to night game, but can still do amazing, incredible things in night game, as you can see here. Most girls just crumble around here. They just turn into like giggly little crumbling messes. Let's just have fun. This guy's getting really serious. No more. Okay, good. That was so cute. That girl wanted to take a picture of us. That's adorable. You were too cute for words. I was looking for you forever. It was torture.
Shut up.
What am I gonna do with you? You're all trouble.
Man, I didn't bring my swimsuit.
Really?
I guess I'll have to go naked. We'll come back to them.
I don't want shitty kisses, only good kisses. Only if you're a good kisser. In spite of the fact that I can do those things, I still prefer day game and still think it's better and still am better at day game. So I want to teach you from that perspective. And the other thing is that by having a well-rounded game, the things I teach you are things that are pure form game and are not gimmicky in any way, shape, or form. All right? They're things that work across the board, will work in all contexts because, and this is the other issue I have with other products that have come out in day game, the things I'm going to teach you are not gimmicky. They are solid fundamental principles that once you learn them, they will help you always. They will never hold you back. And they will help you to become that guy who's naturally attracted to women at all times. It won't be a situation where you have to like put on your pickup persona in order to go out. It'll be a situation where you walk through life as this attractive man, you see a woman and you just naturally approach her, no big deal, as part and parcel of who you are. And that's one of the greatest things about day game, is that it truly becomes part of your life. You don't have to become Mr. Pickup Man. You just go through life having an abundance of women and just accumulating them while still being on your life path and doing what you're really excited about. So anyway, I want to thank you for tuning into this program. You're going to find a tremendous amount of material in it. Don't be afraid to watch it over and over again. You will get more out of it every single time you view it, but you will also, even after the first viewing, see immediate results and changes in your game. So I'm super excited. Let's get started. Before we delve too deeply into the intricate technical details of day game pickup, I want to draw a distinction between what you do in day game and what you do in night game, because a lot of guys' experience in pickup has been night game. It's been going out Friday and Saturday, getting drunk with their friends and hitting on girls in this like sort of like chunk of time that's their bubble of hit on girl time. Day game's a little different than that in the sense that it's something that's available to you 24/7. Every time you leave the house is a potential day game opportunity. Every time you go to the office, every time you go to the gym. So it's something that's there at all times. And in a lot of ways, that's incredible because it means there's infinite possibilities and it's just bringing itself to your life without interfering or getting in the way of anything else you're doing. In another sense, though, this can be difficult for guys because they're used to getting like revved up and amped up and having this like I'm in pickup mode sort of a thing. So day game is going to require you to be a little bit more of like sort of just the boss in life, walking through your life in the right way and with the right momentum and the right attitudes, which is actually going to benefit you massively in the long run. But at the same time, you have to understand that when you're doing pickup in one chunk of time, you have this opportunity to build momentum and have one set kind of fit, like go directly into the other attitude-wise and energy-wise and that sort of thing. In day game, you may not have that. And so your performance in the first few sets or your performance in a given set might not be quite your absolute optimal performance. And if you get down on yourself when you're not at your absolute best every single time, you're going to create a situation where you start hating to do day game, you don't want to do it, you get afraid, that kind of stuff. Whereas if you can just be a little forgiving of yourself and understand it's okay to do a bad approach, that part of the purpose of game is to have fun rather than just to like get the result with this particular girl right now. If you can take that mentality, it's going to help you tremendously to keep a good attitude, keep doing it, and that's going to translate over to your sets. So the guys that can just keep that happy, fun, non-judgmental mentality and find something fun or funny in the sets that they're doing as they go are the guys who will do the best at day game. Okay, so I really want to encourage that mentality. Take the pressure off yourself. Every set doesn't have to be great. Just do the best you can. Try and live your life in such a way that you're being social a bit, that you're feeling good about yourself in your life and you're happy with the path you're on, because that's going to help. And then the other thing that really helps is to have sort of a standard for yourself. Have sort of like, you know, if I see a girl, I've made a commitment to myself, I'm going to do it. I've made a commitment that my criteria for success is I did it and I did the best I can, not that I necessarily ran the best approach or that I necessarily got a particular result, okay? Because that's the only thing you can control. Your goal should be focused on things you can control. So that mentality, super, super hypercritical. If you get that mentality down, you will have a tremendous amount of fun with day game and you'll get great with it. If you're putting a ton of pressure on yourself and requiring yourself for emotional reasons to do every set well, you're going to start hating day game and you're going to miss out on tons and tons of opportunities for sex. Okay, with regards to all this, in particular, there's this huge paradox, not just in day game, but in game in general, of freedom from outcome versus intent. And intent is the idea that you're going after something. You have a goal, you're willing to make it man to woman, you're willing to like take some social risks, assume some awkwardness, and you are going for it. You're trying for a result. And that's important because a lot of guys are way too platonic, way too passive, and never make a move. That's one of the biggest mistakes in game. On the other hand, you want to be free from outcome. With any particular girl, if you're too needy, if you're too like clingy, if you're too worried about what she's thinking about you, that kind of thing, it's going to hold you back, it's going to put you in your head, etc. And so this has been one of the great paradoxes in game for a really long time, which is how do you have intent while remaining free from outcome? And my particular solution to it is, I think, a unique one, which is I don't try to be free from outcome at all. I don't care to, okay? I'm extremely outcome dependent. I'm extremely competitive. I grew up my entire life as a soccer player, a chess player, I was a professional poker player for quite a while. So I'm extremely competitive, and I'm extremely outcome oriented. I want to win. But the thing is, I change my focus to a positive one. So when I walk up to a girl, what do I consider winning? What is my criteria for a win? It's not, did she fuck me? It's not, did I get a number? It's, did I go over in like the best way I knew I could without hesitation and bring the best self I had in that moment? Now, if the best self I had in that moment is like a stuttering, sputtering idiot, then that's fine. I accept that. Maybe I'll learn in other ways how to make, you know, through my life and through the skills I have, make it less of an idiot next time. But I will consider that a success because I stepped up and did the best I could in that moment. And I know that if I do the best I can over and over again, I will get a great result. All right. So even when I was 18 years old and I sucked at pickup, if I went and I was nervous and shy and anxious and I went over and talked to a girl and it completely flubbed, I was proud of myself because here's the thing. I hadn't rejected myself, right? I trusted myself and did the best I could. And that's my criteria for success. And so I am extremely outcome dependent towards that result, okay? If I go do my best, I'm very, very, very happy. If I do anything less than my best, I am so pissed at myself. I am so angry at myself. I feel so much like pain and shame over that I know damn well I'm going to do it the next time. All right? And then when I do it the next time, I'm happy and proud of myself because I knew how tough it was, and I give myself credit for what I've done. Okay? So I personally don't believe in being outcome independent in terms of like not caring. You have to care. If you didn't care at all, you just sit and look at the girl and not approach her. Like to be fair, if you were completely outcome independent, you completely didn't care if she liked you, you wouldn't even approach, right? So you approach not to get the girl, not to get a result. You approach for the right reason. You approach because it's better for your soul to approach and because it's part of your personal growth and your personal process, okay? The other thing I want to point out about this, and this is good thing about goal setting in general, is that any goal should be something that is an intrinsic goal, something you have control over. So understand this. You cannot control whether someone else likes you. You cannot empirically control that. What you can do is you can go over and have good behaviors and good personality so that on a high percentage basis, they're likely to like you. But any one particular person may or may not like you. Even 15 years in the game, I cannot guarantee I walk over to any one girl and get her. Right? I can't guarantee that, but what I can guarantee is my game is good enough and my process is good enough that if I walk up to a few different girls and over a few days, I'm going to have a lot of beautiful girls in my life. So that's what I can guarantee because I'm going to do the right things and I'll follow the process. On a percentage basis, I'm going to get a lot of positive results. But you can't guarantee every single one, and if you make getting one particular result your outcome or what you want, you're going to be very unhappy, and also you're going to be actually hindering your ability to get that result because you're going to be attached and the girl's going to sense that neediness coming off of you, okay? So that's my philosophy on intent versus freedom from outcome. I'm incredibly intentful. I am not outcome free at all, but I have the right outcomes. I have self-directed outcomes that are process-oriented as opposed to extrinsic motivations that are results-oriented. And because of that, I can have drive at all times without it actually hurting or affecting my game. One other thing that's very important in terms of mentality of day game, which is unrelated to what I said, but so important, is you need to believe it's possible. You need to believe in yourself. If you've never done cold approach, you need to believe that getting a girl's number, following up on dates, taking her home, etc. is possible. And when you watch my infield, hopefully that will show you that it's possible. But also, when you start getting results, pay attention to those results, latch onto them, focus on the positives, focus on the things that are proof that it is possible for you. Because knowing that it's possible in an esoteric way is different than knowing it's possible viscerally inside of yourself. The other thing though, especially for guys that are maybe intermediate, you may have this mentality that like going out and getting girls' number in the daytime is fine and normal, but you may not have ever pulled a girl in the daytime. You may not have actually done any like, insta date, take the girl home, that kind of stuff, because that tends to be a little more rare. Know that that's possible as well, and know that you can try for it, and know that you should. Also know that you don't have to be some master at game before you start getting those results, okay? I'll tell you a little story that happened to me. This is actually a story from night game, but it's very applicable to day game, which is I was teaching some students down in Australia, and I had a guy assisting me who had way less good game than me. Not nearly the kind of game I have. Every time he and I were talking to girls together, the girls would give their attention to me and almost ignore him. But as I was teaching the students, he'd disappear and I'd be like, "Where'd you go?" And he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I just fucked that girl in the bathroom." Like, whoa, what the fuck? And then like he did it again the next night. "Oh, just fucked that girl in the bathroom." And the funny thing was, at this point in my pickup career, I slept with a lot of girls. I'd taken tons of girls home, but I never actually slept with a girl in a bathroom. And not that that's like the nicest, cleanest place to sleep with a girl or whatever, but it's just an accomplishment. It's something that's in game. And the reason I hadn't done it, I realized, wasn't because this guy's game was better than mine. It's because he had it in his mind that that was a normal thing to do and that was something that could be done, whereas I'd never really even considered it. And so I just made it kind of a challenge to myself. The next girl I talk to, I'm going to go like sleep with her in the bathroom. I basically almost did it the first time, one shot, one kill, came very close, ended up actually taking her home and sleeping with her that night. And since then, because it's been in my reality, I've actually had a lot of like crazy sort of closes in random areas, okay? So the point of that, I know that's not like a day game thing, but the point of that is this. Anything in life and anything in game, if you believe it's possible, it will be very easy. It will tend to manifest and you'll find the skills to make it possible. If you believe it's not possible, you'll find all the restrictions and all the reasons not to approach or not to try for it, okay? So believe it's possible, and in particular, know that taking a girl home in the daytime is possible. I'm going to demonstrate that for you in this product, but I need you to know it for yourself as well, okay? So know that getting a number is possible, know that sleeping with a girl on a date is possible, know that taking a girl home straight away is also possible, all right? It has happened, it will happen. If your game's good enough and if you believe it, it will happen for you. The next thing I want to address to you is something that a lot of people don't really consider when they start thinking about day game, but it's incredibly, incredibly important. And this is having an overall plan for how you're going to do day game. Because there's all these like, do you have good game or not? How do you run a particular interaction? And that's important. But if you don't have a plan for how you're going to fit day game into your life and how you're going to go through your day in such a way that day game happens, it just won't happen. Okay, obviously, if you're sitting in your basement doing work and never leaving the house, it won't happen. But also, if you're rushing around doing chores all the time, you feel pressed for time, you don't know your area, so you don't know where you can take girls on dates, those kind of things, it won't happen in your favor either. So I'm going to give you kind of a list of important points that you really need to hit if you want to be a truly successful day gamer. And again, these aren't like things that make your game better, but if you have a better plan, a guy with a good plan that has mediocre game will do better than a guy with no plan who has great game. Okay, so get this plan down. I can't emphasize to you how important it is. So without further ado, here are a list of some of the things that you want to do to have a great plan and make day game work for you. First off, you need to plan your day so that you have time to day game. And I'll give you a couple examples of that. One thing that I know that I did for a period of time was every single obligation I had in life, I just tried to be 15 minutes early. And what I did actually is I had 15 minutes early and then I'd bring a book or I'd have like something queued up on Audible just in case I actually got there early so I could use my time productively. But what would happen is by being 15 minutes early, when you see that girl on the street or the train or like the bench or in your building or whatever, instead of being like, oh, I'm in a hurry, I can't approach her, and having that excuse, you have 15 minutes to do a pretty damn good approach. So there's no excuse. And also, if the approach goes well, you have enough time to, instead of it being just a quick number, you can actually turn it into a real interaction that will build a solid number and a solid lead for you, okay? If you were in a hurry and didn't have that 15 minutes, you wouldn't get that result, right? Regardless of your game, if you're in a hurry and don't do the approach, how good your game is doesn't matter because she never saw it. Okay, so that's one thing I did at one point was 15 minutes early all the time. Here's a couple other things that I did that were huge for lifestyle and day game. Second one was when I used to live in New York. Every single time I would ride the subway, whatever subway car I would get in on, I would walk onto the car and I would immediately walk through the car from back to front. And if I saw a girl, I had to open her the second I saw her. And if there was a hot girl in my car, great, that's amazing, I would start the approach. If not, I would get to the front of the car. At the next stop, I would jump out of the car, jump into the next car, and hop in the back and do that same walk. And so say I was going 6 subway stops, I would get 6 different cars worth where I could possibly find a girl. And obviously within, a few cars, you usually find a cute girl, which meant I was doing an approach every single time I was on the subway, which actually meant that almost every single time I left the house, I came back with somewhere between like 1 and 3 phone numbers, right? Talk about abundance. Every time I leave the house, I get 1 to 3 phone numbers. Holy shit, that's incredible, right? Now you have girls in your life, you have all the right things going for you. So that's crazy good. Last one I'll tell you, similar kind of to the subway one in a way, was I made a criteria for myself every time I would go to the gym, because the gym's kind of an activity that has some flex time to it. Every time I'd go to the gym, between the time I left the house, traveled to the gym, went to the gym, came back and got in the house, I would have to have done 3 approaches. And actually, I was living near Harvard Square, so what would happen is if I hadn't done my 3 approaches, by the time I got back to Harvard Square, I'd do 3 approaches in that square before I would go home. And 3 approaches is really good. We'll talk about that in a second. But 3 approaches for me is the amount it usually takes me to build really, really good momentum. So what would happen actually in doing 3 approaches, sometimes I'd be kind of down. I just might do my 3 approaches and go home. But a lot of times after 3 approaches, I would be loving it. I'd be getting good results. And I'd stay and do like 10 approaches and like have dates for months. Okay, so that's what you really want to be doing in that case, is creating a way that day game fits into your life in a way that's not super try hard. Again, it's better to not block off like 6 hours to go walk around the mall. I mean, if you're learning, by all means do that and do it for the practice. But once you get good, you want day game to be a part of your life. So plan it and fit it into your life, because if you don't plan it, it won't happen. Next key point to successful day game. Know your area and know the area you're going out in. The best day game, phone numbers are great, but the best day game is when you can do instant dates. If you happen to know there's an amazing smoothie place around the corner, that's great for an instant date. You happen to know the best place to a little secluded area on the beach that like tourists don't go to, that's great for an instant date. If you happen to know the cool pool in Vegas, I live in Vegas, that you can take someone to, et cetera, that's great for an instant date. If you don't know that stuff, you can still instant date. You can still be like, hey, I know a cool place, start walking and figure out as you go. But if you know where you're going, it's going to be easier. So know the instant dates, near where you're going. Also, no instant dates near your house. No good excuses that you can bring them back to places near your house, because that's going to make it easier to pull. Again, you can game fine without that information, but you're fighting more of an uphill battle. The more information you have on your side, the better off you'll be. So do a little research. It doesn't take long. 10 minutes may be the difference between you getting laid and not getting laid. Next, have a standard for what you will consider to be an approach. This means don't give yourself excuses, okay? If you're at a level of game that you're getting pretty good responses from girls, at that point, don't consider being like, hi, you're cute, and walking off an approach. Make yourself go ahead and show intent. Make yourself ask for a phone number. So come up with a standard of what is a good effort for you that corresponds to your level of game. If you have severe approach anxiety, just saying hi may be that standard. If you are very advanced, probably you need to try and close for it to count as that standard. But hold yourself to a standard of performance so that it actually counts, so that you know that you've stepped up. And be proud of yourself every time you hit that standard, regardless of the result you get from the girl. Next, I kind of mentioned this earlier. Give yourself permission to warm up. Give yourself permission to kind of suck for the first 3 to 5 sets. Understand there's 3.5 billion girls on the planet roughly. You're not going to run out. And of that 3.5 billion, a ton of them are hot. So if you happen to talk to a couple girls and it doesn't go the greatest, who cares? It probably will go better than you think anyway. It'll probably just be like friendly, but then, okay, nice to meet you, whatever. And then you're on to the better approaches later. But give yourself permission. Don't be hard on yourself. Understand that even the best guys in game need to warm up. Don't be the guy that you do one bad approach, you get down on yourself, and you don't want to do more approaches. Remember the story of me in Boston, right? I'll do those 3 approaches. Sometimes they wouldn't go well. And then I just go home, and that's that. A lot of times, though, it would go well. It would build that momentum, and that's great, and that's what we're really looking for, okay? So give yourself permission to warm up. Give yourself permission to have a couple sets that don't go that well. If you want, go talk to a couple guys or talk to an old lady. Talk to someone and just get your mouth running. That'll help you warm up as well. But even if you're talking to, hot girls from the start, it's okay to mess up with a hot girl. There will be more, and she probably won't remember you. In fact, if she does remember you, she'll probably vaguely remember she's seen you, think you're her friend, and talk to you better the next time you see her. I've actually had that happen to me too, okay? So the big thing is the first 3 to 5 sets don't matter. Go out, get that momentum. You owe it to yourself for a process. And understand that game it's about getting girls, yes, but more it's about a process of becoming the man you want to be, and that's just your process. That's just something you need to do along that path. Now, if in those 3 to 5 sets things go really well, obviously, if you have time, stay and do some more. Ride that momentum and game more when things are going well. If things are not going well, you're having a bad day, chill out, go do something else productive. If you're having a great day, ride that momentum, get to that peak, and enjoy the results, because it'll be really, really good. Last thing to think about in terms of overall plan for your day game is understand there are 3 types of styles that are really good in day game. The first is the quick phone number. You just get a phone number really quick. It may be flaky, but you just get lots and lots of numbers. You follow up with them, get as many dates as you can, and try and work it from there. And that's a totally valid style. Next style is try and do the solid number, whether that means staying longer in the interaction or doing a quick little instant date and then getting the number from there. You get the solid number, you're going to get fewer numbers because it takes more time, but the numbers you get will be less flaky, and the dates you go on will tend to be higher buy-in dates, so you'll get a higher close percentage off your dates. So that's another strategy. And then the third strategy is try for the instant date, try and take the girl home right then and there. My personal strategy is to go for the instant date and take the girl home if possible, and if I think she's really a high-quality girl, and then settle for the other 2 if necessary. But any of these styles are totally valid. Any of these styles are things that I've done at various points in my game and that have gotten me tremendous results. The quick numbers thing is how I got laid for the first basically 4 years I was in game, and it did great for me. I had dates every single weekend, even when my game sucked. All right, so it's a totally valid way to go. Decide what your time allows for. Decide what your personality allows for. Pick a style and become excellent at that style. Ideally, know how to do all the different styles, but pick your personal style. They're all just fine. They're all great styles. Pick it, go with it, know they're all possible, and figure out what works for you personally.